Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. Today, we're not quite doing a top 10 list, but one of the videos that I wanted to do was some of my top everyday whiskeys that I tasted through in 2024. Now, these should be more proof conscious, more price conscious, more available in most markets. Now, I got some flack, as I normally do, from my more available list. Maybe I should rename that as the less allocated list, because that's truthfully what that is. It's a list of bottles that are hopefully less allocated than the rare and limited bottles. And I think a lot of people were looking for products that they'll probably find on this list. These are products that I generally got a chance to try in 2024, and for a majority of them, they either released in 2024 or there's a newer batch that I had tried this year that I thought was worth mentioning. Since this is not a top list, we're just gonna run through these products. If you haven't already, stop, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Help me continue to grow the channel here in 2025. Also, let me know what your favorite everyday bottle has been in 2024. We're gonna start off the bat with a product that I actually mentioned in 2023, but I still feel like it is a really solid valued product and one that is often overlooked, and that happens to be the Barrel Foundation. This is a 5 to 9 year product, and this is bringing in a blend from Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, and Maryland. It is coming in at 100 proof, but even at 100 proof, I feel like the profile that comes from this, it satisfies everything I'm usually looking for in a bourbon. I feel like it's really easy for me to bring out and share with people because of its proof, and I feel like it has so much to offer, even more so sometimes than their batched products that often come in at a higher proof point. For those reasons, it's here on my list. Again, this is the Barrel Foundation. Coming to the market and giving a lot of products a run for its money happens to be the Green River Foolproof. Green River Foolproof hit the market in an area where I feel like we don't really see a lot of widely accessible cask strength whiskeys at a relatively easy price point to go and just grab off the shelf. This is definitely one that competes with the people who like the Buffalo Trace-like products. You like a Stag, but it's hard to find. At its core, I feel like you have nods to fruit and citrus, but mainly I find a dense pocket of brown sugar, some milk chocolate accompanying, and then really nice toasted oak. So if you want the classic bourbon profiles, cask strength, maybe it's something you want to mix with easily, low cost, and you want a higher proof cocktail, or you just want something that's kind of big and bold to go to on a more regular basis, it's hard to find many that are better than this Green River Foolproof. I think some people were surprised not to see this one on another one of my lists this year. That'd be the top Ryes of the year. And we had it in the blind, but I just think that it couldn't hang with the power that some of the other ones have. This also comes from Green River. It happens to be the Green River Rye. Dollar for dollar, I just don't know that you can find very many Ryes that compete against this one for the value, for the accessibility. It's coming in at 95 proof, so it's not high, but it's not low by any means either. All around solid rye. Pockets of fruit, pockets of citrus. It's more kind of nougaty and toffee in there, but still has the kind of tingle and spice you expect from a rye. So someone who might kind of thread the needle, they don't want them to be overly mint bombs or anything like that, but you don't want it to be as sweet as a bourbon. This one strikes a perfect mix and is a good value rye. Again, for mixing, even going to for sipping too. Great one to have around. That is the Green River Rye. I've talked about this in a short form video, maybe just over on Instagram, but the other one we're gonna bring up is the Russell's 10. Now, there have been a lot of people talking about the LLME batch of Russell's 10 this year, and this happens to be one of those batches. But the main reason I want to put this bottle in here is because I tried a number of batches this year, and it's a product I feel like I just have gone to on a regular basis before, and then stopped going to it on a regular basis. And trying the batches this year just reminded me of how enjoyable this pour is, coming in at a really reasonable price and a really nice age statement. 90 proof, 10 years old, and again, the LLME batch I do think was probably superior than some of the other ones that came out this year. Nice mature oak, really nice fruit flavors, just a really well done bourbon. But that didn't necessarily make it accessible to find, as everyone's kind of running around to the various stores chasing for this specific batch code. That said, the other batches that I tried throughout the year, while they might not have been as enjoyable as that specific batch, reminded me again of the flavors of this bottle and why I used to like coming to it so much, making it one that I'm hopefully going to continue to come back around to. Really easy proof point, really easy to have around for people, especially if you like a more well-aged bourbon for your easy to go to shelf. This one is the Russell's 10. Keeping it in the heritage brand, this was a product I loved when it first released, and I just hadn't visited it in so long, kind of like the Russell's 10-year. That happens to be the Four Roses Small Batch Select. Now, it is often that in my everyday pours, I am going between Four Roses Small Batch Select or the single barrel as like a good value bottle to go into. I think that Four Roses has some good entry points, and I'm excited to see what the new releases, the new recipes, and the single barrel entry do to people coming into the brand of Four Roses. However, I still stand by the fact that Four Roses Small Batch Select to me is like the LE flavors that people look for, but in a smaller, more contained, more accessible, more general package. Specifically, when my buddy Nick told me that he had picked one of these up at Costco, really reasonable price. He said, I don't know if you've visited this bottle in quite some time, but I think you should, because this one here, at least the newer bottlings of it, seem like they have some older whiskeys dumped into that, giving more of the flavors that you look for in their more cask strength, higher age offerings than just the standard products you generally see on the shelf. So if you've been looking for an entry point into Four Roses and you haven't taken one yet, or you want something that you can go to on a more regular basis that doesn't have as high of a proof, but still kind of hits on some of the things that you love about the older Four Roses pours that they've done before in their limited editions or their single barrel expressions, I highly suggest you come back around to the Four Roses Small Batch Select. Give it a try. See what you think. Another one that I thought I had here in the studio, but I can't seem to find the bottle, I will post that right up here, is the Maker's 46 cask strength. Now, earlier this year, we went to Maker's Mark and I did a little video about this one as well, but we went to Maker's Mark earlier this year for the Cellar Age Tour. And again, personal preference, I'm not the largest fan of the Cellar Age profile compared to what their products just already do. And while we were there, we were able to taste the Maker's 46 cask strength. Now, it caught my eye because I feel like they've gone through some sort of rebranding in the last couple of years, and I hadn't really noticed the packaging before. So when we revisited this bottle in our tasting, I thought to myself, wow, especially going against the cellar age that so many people are talking about, hard to get this year, this is one of the better examples of Maker's Mark that I feel like are out there. Now, again, let me preface, I'm not necessarily the largest fan of Maker's Mark. And while I do think that the cellar age may be the best portrayal of well-aged kind of flavors you probably could get out of Maker's Mark, I think the best bang for your buck that you can get on a regular basis, and what I'd probably always suggest someone go to if they want to kind of really dive into what Maker's Mark has to offer, it's gonna be the Maker's 46 cask strength. This next bottle might be a little bit polarizing for some. It just depends on what you think about wheated bourbons and what you may have thought about this release this year. This comes from Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is in their Origin series, and this is their higher wheat content release. Now, we did already see Bardstown come out with their wheated black label Origin series bottled in bond, and I was a fan of that one as well. This one came out, this is in 106 proof, and it increases the wheat content that's there, and I feel like that gives it overall maybe a bigger creaminess to the mouthfeel. That said, when it comes to wheated bourbons, again, I've mentioned this in one of my other videos before too, what I think is always left in my mind from people talking is that a wheated bourbon versus a rye bourbon should have more overall sweetness, and I think that is not always the case when I come to them. This is a good example of that. I feel like this does have some of the cinnamon candy notes. It has some tingling spices as well. And generally, when it comes to wheated bourbons, I don't necessarily think it always leans on the sweeter side of things. I think that there's a specific type of spice that you notice in wheated bourbons that's just different than maybe the more attacking spice that's in a rye. But in a rye bourbon, you still have a lot of the corn, and I feel like you can get some really sweet bourbons. With the wheateds, I feel like a lot of them I've come to, I've just been surprised about some of the tingling cinnamon-like spices that still come with them, because I think that they should be more sugary, more custardy, or something like that. That said, there are some really nice sweet notes that come to this bourbon as you continue to sit with it, but do know that this is gonna be one that has kind of like a sweet and spicy play to it. So if you're interested in that, you wanna kick up the proof a little bit from the bottled and bond wheated, and you wanna go up a little bit, maybe in some of the viscosity of the mouthfeel, then this Bardstown high wheat bourbon might just be up your alley. Now, for whatever reason in the whiskey industry, I think there's still a lot of people who are down on Tennessee bourbons, regardless of if they know it's not from Dickel. That said, I think that Tennessee is coming out with some really fantastic whiskeys, and they shouldn't be overlooked. Next on my list comes from Silverbelly. Now, this is Alan Jackson's brand. We recently went down there. We were in Nashville. We were on the main drag. We went to this honky tonks and all that, and we were able to try and pick a Silverbelly as well. They have a 91 proof, and then they have these single barrels that are 115 proof. But this is just one of several brands that are working with these Tennessee components, and I think that the flavors coming out of them for the price and accessibility of them generally is wonderful. You have these big cherry candy-like notes, like cherry cola, with nice chocolates and solid oak backgrounds, making this just a really solid bourbon to go to if you want something that's bold, strong, has a really nice fruit front, and then has a really solid backbone as well. And again, while it's milder than the 115 proof single barrels, I think their 91 proof has all of those same flavors, but in a nice, soft, creamier delivery to you guys. So one, not to miss. Again, if you want to branch out a little bit, you want to try some Tennessee bourbon, not from Dickel, and see what's coming out of the state, I think that you need to check out a brand putting out some Tennessee whiskeys like Silverbelly. All right, we got two more to round this out, and this is one I feel like I've been talking about all year long in various places or content pieces, and that happens to be the Smoke Eye Hill. This is not their cask strength blue corn though. It is blue corn, but this is their 93 proof. And to me, this is such a good drinker, and I feel like a little bit underrated. Super creamy, really nice and fruity. I mean, this is a really widely accessible flavor profile. I've brought this camping with us. We've mixed this with sodas. We've done a lot of things with this product, and I feel like it just continues to stand up. It's nice and sweet forward, highlighting really wonderful mouthfeel, has some unique fruits mixed with kind of like peppery spice, not intense, very subtle on the palate, but then just has a really good, continuing that enjoyable mouthfeel, even at this 93 proof, into a nice kind of toffee, caramel, mocha-like chocolate and oak finish. Really, really enjoy this one. I really think a lot of people should be turning on to this one. Not that they shouldn't with the cask strength. The cask strength's solid as well, but I'm just really loving this 93 proof Smoke Eye Hill Blue Corn. Last but not least is just a flavor bomb coming out of Columbus, Ohio. This is their Whiskey War coming out of High Bank, but this one is not cask strength. It's not double oaked. It's not double oaked. It's not double oaked. It's not the midnight cab finish or whatever. This is their 88 proof, kind of just classic go-to bourbon. This is another one I think has tons of flavor that drinks well above its proof. It's more on the sugary side of spices. They do have what I think is more of a rye forward mash bill that they use. So it has some kind of candied citrus, candy herbal notes in there, and still has a solid amount of oak that continues along in that kind of spicy finish. But just a really beautiful cascade and trail across the palate as well. It's a slightly different one. This is for somebody who, they're not afraid of ryes, but they do like bourbon. Not overly piercing or anything with the spice. I think that's the best thing about its being lower proof, is it does showcase the qualities, the flavors of a spicier bourbon without all the attack. And so I think that makes a really satisfying pour. Last one, my favorite everyday kind of pours for 2024. This is Whiskey War from High Bank. And that does it for 10 of my everyday whiskeys from 2024. Guys, thanks for tuning in to another video. Hope it was insightful, informational. Hope to help maybe put some other brands on your radar, either to revisit or to check out as we go into 2025. Thanks as always, everybody, for tuning in to another video. And until next time, we'll see you all later.